There's almost no country in the world without debt. America alone is under a debt of $38 trillion. The burden of the European Union is approaching 14 trillion. Japan, meanwhile, is pushing toward 9 trillion. Even oil-rich Saudi Arabia is in debt. Export powerhouses like Germany and China, they are too. So then, everyone is in debt. Who do we owe? This question unsettled me as well, and as I went into it, I realized this. Debt is not just a burden, as we know it. It is the body of the modern world. Wars, crises, economic booms, all of them are tied to this invisible web of debt. And the more you follow these webs, the stranger the place you arrive at. The world is not actually in debt to anyone. It is in debt to itself. But this does not mean everyone gains the same. Today, total global debt is around $315 trillion. That is 3 times the size of the entire global economy. So how did we get here? The answer is not on Wall Street. It is on the battlefield. In 1694, England was at war with France. Its gold had run out. The king went to merchants and said, "If you give me money now, I will pay you interest from future taxes." For the first time, a state began spending money it had not yet earned. To manage this system, the Bank of England was established. Government bonds were born. A piece of paper. But written on it was something very powerful. The state promises. These papers were bought and sold. They became more valuable than gold. France copied it. The Netherlands developed it. America financed its freedom with it. Debt was no longer a weakness. It was a display of power. Empires once conquered land for gold. Now they began issuing debt for interest. The battlefield had changed. The front line was now the balance sheet, if we come to today. A significant portion of America's $38 trillion debt is not owed to others, but to its own system. Banks, pension funds, insurance companies, even the central bank. China and Japan hold some of U.S. debt, but this is a small part of the total. America is essentially in debt to itself, as this is not unique to America. Everyone is holding everyone else's paper. One country's debt is another country's reserve. It is like a game where everyone at the table is taking chips from one another. As long as no one stands up, there's no problem. But there are those who truly run the table, the markets, funds, banks, pension systems. Invisible hands managing trillions. The moment they withdraw their trust, countries collapse. Currencies lose value. Governments fall. Democracies are governed by ballots, but survival is determined by the markets. If you ask who stands at the head of the system, central banks. Central banks do not just manage debt. They produce it. They buy a bond. In return, they create new money. So you should know this. Every unit of money you see in circulation is actually the trace of a debt. There is no such thing as debt-free money. This system has stood this way for years. Trust. No one expects the principal to be paid. Believing that the interest will be paid is enough. No one wants debt to come to an end, because that moment would also be the end of the system. States do not take on debt to pay it off, but to roll it over. They close old debt with new debt. This is called refinancing. This is not a conspiracy. This is policy. If America were to completely pay off its debt, the world's safest financial asset would disappear. Markets would freeze. Money would shrink. The economy would lock up. That is why debt is not paid off. It is kept alive. But here is the dark side of it. Interest payments are not distributed equally. They are taken from taxpayers. They flow to asset holders. So debt is not only a transfer between countries, it is a transfer between classes. That is why as debt grows, inequality follows. At the very top, there is no single culprit, not China, not Wall Street, not the IMF. They are all there. And we are in it too. Debt is no longer a chain, it is the balance itself. But if that balance breaks, then we remember what debt really is, a promise that cannot be kept. If this helped you see the world a little differently, subscribe. The answers are hidden in history. I'm just opening the door.